reevaluate the call, and then also, I guess, talking to the players about what happened after the catch? Like, what kind of answers could they give you?
Yeah, I mean, not great answers, but just going back to the last play, listen, we didn't want to be in that position as it was, but that's how the game came down to it. Thought our guys played well, but at the end of the game, clock's rolling, it's a dead clock. We got 4 down on the field, and it was like, all right, we're rushing the passer really well. So we kept 4 down rush, knew we tried to get the ball out, tried to get the corners back as far as we could. They got back to about 10, want to get them back more, had a post on the overlap, it became more of a one-on-one play than I wanted it more of a 2-on-1 play, but it happened. Got to make a tackle at the end to try to win the game there, and didn't. So disappointing on the result of that play for sure.
Adam, on that play, if there's say 5 seconds or 4 seconds left, what changes in the defense? Because
Instead of 6.
yes.
Yeah,
Does it change anything at all? And
I went through that because it's still a field goal game. So you're trying to make the decision. They got a timeout left, so you're always trying to make that decision. The Heat, okay, is it going to be more of a chunk play with a timeout for a field goal to tie, right? Or is it going to be a shot to the end zone? In my mind, going through it, it's like, okay, he can't reach the end zone if we rush 4. Like, that's not happening. We'll get there before he can get the ball off 60 yards. So, let's be 4-man rush, get the pressure, back the guys up so they'll see the ball thrown, overlap it with the safety, and put yourself in position to get the ball down. That's really what it came down to. And so it went through my mind, listen, can they get 30 or 40 and time out it for a field goal? And right in my mind, I'm like, I don't think that's what's going to happen, right? So right away it went to, all right, listen, 4 down rush, back them up, overlap post, let's go play. And that's really what it came down to.
Next will be Gene, over to your right.
And outside of those, outside of those last couple drives, and you guys had held to one offensive drive effectively the whole game. What happened? You guys just started to press, or they wore out? With the last 2 drives, they moved it at will down the field.
Yeah, well, start out on the second to last drive. It's 3rd and 12, and we have a penalty. And it's a 2nd and 20, and we have a lapse and an MA on a ball that we've covered all night. Then we get them, and we pick the ball off on a 3rd down. We're on the bench, and it's an overview targeting call. So that was that drive. So were there breakdowns? Yeah, penalties and a crucial 2nd and 20 lapse in judgment, and then a penalty on a 3rd down when we pick the ball off to get off the field. So then we go back out, we stop them, score, then we come back on the field in a 2-minute drive. So that's what it was. Definitely, thought we had them stopped on numerous times in that second to last drive, and for whatever reason we didn't. So yeah, disappointing the last 2 for sure. But up until then, I thought we played really solid football.
I'm sorry, my last question about this play.
No, go.
When the snap was called, you have 9 guys within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. Would you have rather those DBs, you said you wanted them to back up, should they have been 20 yards off the line of scrimmage? Was the community, and why weren't they, I guess?
Yeah, just caught in the moment, trying to get, there's a portion that you're still trying to be on the routes, you know what I mean? And it's in like a 10 crossover run, staying on top of the routes, and all of a sudden the ball's in the air, and now it becomes, do I play the ball, do I play the guy type of decision, Corey, is really what it came down to. In a perfect world, you want to enter at a downhill angle and be deep enough that you go play the football, but that thing tempos and, just ball gets thrown and you get kind of in between, and then the post guy's there and it's like, is he making the play? Am I making the play? And, stuff that you probably happens a lot in the course of a practice and just didn't happen Saturday night.
Go back to Ira.
And please ask all the questions you want. Don't feel like, hey, I can't ask that one again. Like, we're all in this to try and make sure that, number one, it doesn't happen again, and then why, so everybody understands.
All right, one more. On that play.
Don't keep saying one more. It's another one. Like, this room's tilting over this way right now.
Everything's going to be magnified on a play like that. And so, and Coach Norvell addressed it. He said that there were some guys not playing with ultimate effort on that last play. Has that been an issue, or did it show up at just the worst possible time? Not that those guys maybe could have made the play, but just, has it been an issue at all before?
Yeah, I think the definition of the way we've been playing the first 2 games have been really outstanding effort. Now, you watch that play, and obviously it's a ball thrown. So, you have 2 guys within 5 yards to make the play, right? Well, we've had 2 guys within 5 yards to make a play, and we've had 9 other guys chasing the football on numerous plays. I think on that one, it's a little bit, clock's running, everybody's moving, you want to be really cool in the moment, ball gets thrown, and we had a couple guys just kind of like watching the ball, which typically has not happened throughout the first 2 games. Then the ball gets caught, and so yeah, there were a couple guys that were close enough that if they accelerate, could they get involved in the play? Probably. And that's coached, and that's talked about. So yes.
All right, we'll come to the left side for Brendan.
Tilting it over a little bit. Playing the ball, I know some of you guys have worked on the defensive backs all camp and last couple of weeks, but it seems like in the first 2 games that playing the ball in there has kind of been inconsistent, I guess. What can you guys do? Is there anything more time that can be spent on in practice to kind of correct that a little bit?
Yeah, I think, going back, obviously the Notre Dame game, there were a couple that, you want to have more production. Saturday night happened to be the last play. There weren't many over-the-top throws at all in the game, at least contested ones, right? The PIs were comeback throws, where maybe we were on the back shoulder, but, the one that showed up was obviously the one that showed up. But it's definitely, ball drills, taking away the ball, in phase, it's corner 101. It's stuff that we work every day. We'll continue to work it. Just like all things we do, we try to find better ways, or we work the personnel in a way to make sure we're getting the production the way we want. But when you look out there, the guys that are on the field are the ones that we think are the best ones at that moment. And we'll continue to evaluate it, but also continue to evaluate how we're coaching it.
Go to the front row on the right to Kirk.
Coach Ravel, I think, talked about maybe a shock factor on that final play after that pass is caught. I know you said getting caught up in the moment, kind of similar, I guess. So do you agree with the assessment of maybe a shock factor? And what can you kind of do about that after the fact to make sure it doesn't happen again? Because it's probably a pretty troublesome thing to see or hear.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of different scenarios at the end of the football game that you're not going to work on every one every week, but you're constantly working on 2-minute. You're constantly working on last plays. You're constantly working on 4-minute, and it's just things. And so make practice real, right? That's something we preach all the time, of whether it's the way you play, first down, 2-minute, whatever it is, last play of the game. You're always trying to, in the moment on a Tuesday or a Thursday, you're trying to bring that emotion to Saturday, because that's how you are able to replicate it. And so, that obviously didn't happen on that last play, and it's something that we're going to put them in the position again this week and try and make it better.
Next will be Austin, back right.
Jermaine obviously played very well again Saturday night. When you have someone like that who's excelling so much individually, is there anything you can do within the defense to scheme to exploit him even more so?
Yeah, and we're doing it now, and it'll be constant. Whether it's him, and we're using Amari Gaynor on the line of scrimmage a little bit more too, to try to help in that pass rush. But I think the pass rush as a whole has been one of the bright spots here early on. I think the way we're playing up front in the run game, our tackling has improved, and for sure our pass rush is definitely something that, it's come light years right now, but it's something we got to continue, and it's got to be part of our defense that we lean on.
Next will be Corey.
And confidence is such a big deal for a quarterback. Well, I guess in all athletes really, but with somebody like Jarvis, and that's a big mistake he made on a big stage. How do you move forward? How do you coach somebody like that to get his confidence up? Because you can't play that position without him.
Absolutely, and the confidence comes with the work. And when you go out there and you work at it and you put yourself in that position to do everything you can to be the best you can be, once you do that, confidence is coming, and it sticks. There's no fake confidence to it, right? So I can go make a play and maybe that'll last a little bit, but if I'm not doing the everyday work where you feel like you deserve the result, right? Then when it doesn't happen, you're angry about it, and you go put in more time and you keep working, and that will come. And so that's the message.
All right, Ira.
Could you talk about Wake Forest offense, particularly the way they run the football is a little bit different? What challenges do they present?
Yeah, it's very, I think when you're saying the way they run the football, you're just talking about the mesh point with and listen, RPO's been around for a while. And so what they've done is, why do you do that? You try to undress the different levels of the defense. And, obviously their philosophy is a little bit different than some people in that the mesh lasts a little bit longer, right?
How does that affect what you guys do?
Just the timing of it all. I think you still have gaps and you still have pass fits that you got to fit, but now the timing may change a little bit. I think up front it gives you a little bit chance to be able to knock some plays back and get involved in the quarterback, which is something that they have to deal with too. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. Obviously theirs is a little bit unique because you don't see it as much, but I do think it's brought in some proactive thinking for a lot of offensive staffs, I think, because of the way they've had success with it.
All right, Dean?
Adam, it looked like once or twice there were some issues getting the defensive play call in at a timely manner. It looked like at least once Jacksonville State took advantage of that with a quick snap. What are you guys doing to address that so this obviously doesn't become an issue?
Yeah, I think, there are tempos that happen consistently throughout games, and then there are teams that aren't that way, and then they get on the ball quickly. And just with our signal callers, when the signal gets in, of making sure it gets in, and they understand that they don't second guess what they saw for a second or third signal to make sure it's what they saw. Trust your eyes the first time, get down, and be able to get set.
We'll go to Aslan in the back right corner.
Renardo, Jarian, and Miko, I think your guys, I would assume probably have really high upside for you, but weren't able to practice a lot in the offseason. Is it the hope that these guys, the more they play, that they'll be a whole different looking sort of back end the way you guys are performing?
Yeah, I think, Renardo played the most he's played since the Carolina game. So that's a positive, because if they're playing more in the game right now, it means they're practicing more. So within him, I think he is on the uprise. Jarian had some issues during camp from a physical standpoint, so it just wasn't the time to get him ready. This hopefully will be more of a complete week for him. And then Miko, he's coming off something and we're continuing to work, but I got all the confidence in the world in the work that Miko will put in.
Go back to Ira.
You've been able to get Kevin Knowles in both games, and then Shaheem has got in a little bit in this past game. Looked like maybe a little over aggressive on at least one play. What have these first couple games been for those guys to just get game action?
Yeah, has been really clean in his performance. He had 2 plays specifically at the end of the Jacksonville State game. One got called back on a penalty that he was playing a little bit out of his comfort zone, but the moment's not too big for Kevin. I think Kevin has taken the reps that we've given him, and he's continued to get better with it. This was Shaheem's first run. We told him he was going to play. He got in the 3rd series, gave us some reps, some were cleaner than others, but it was a necessary step in him. Want to get him more snaps, but his snaps come out there right now with the 2nd unit, and I think as long as our thought is to push that acceleration with him. So we're hoping the development goes quickly so that you can see him out on the field more on game days.
Kalen's obviously going to miss the first half. I mean, how do you do that as a defensive coach? Will it be you playing 2 guys to play? Will you plan on bringing it in the second half, or how will that work out?
Well, we dealt with that in game 1 with Jamie Robinson, so it's something that is not new to us this year. So Kalen he'll get reps. Obviously, the reps, the way we're going to do it is the reps will be indicated based off of how he's going to play in the game too, right? So first half he's not available, so his reps in practice will basically get cut in half, just so we get the next guy ready to go.
All right, we'll come to the left side for Chris.
Another question about week first. Roberson kid, the wide receiver. What makes him so effective in such a difficult matchup where he's productive against all different kinds of opponents?
Yeah, well, I got a lot of respect for him. I think he does a really good job in his route running, and he's got great big hands. Makes, not to take away from him though, what they do on offense creates a lot of one-on-ones. Because of what Ira said, just with the RPO and the meshes, they're extremely well coached. They do a really good job of executing the run game. They don't give up a lot of TFLs with just how they block it. So it creates space for those wide receivers, and they're playing with an extremely confident and veteran quarterback that puts the ball, where it needs to be put. So I think all the wideouts in that program definitely see the results, based off the run game, based on how the quarterback's been playing. But, they do a nice job.
Next will be Dom in the far back.
Coach, Sam Harmon looks like a guy who just knows how to efficiently run the offense. Now, on paper, it doesn't look like there's anything flashy about his stats, but you mentioned he's a veteran presence back there. What does it take on defense just to disrupt a guy who kind of works within his means and doesn't seem to make the mistakes that, most of your defenses are trying to create in a game?
The good thing about a veteran and a coaching staff that's been at the same program for a while, like Coach Clausen's been with that program, is, number one, they feel really comfortable with what they're doing. But also it allows us to get a good beat on this is who they are, this is what they want to do, and then you can teach offense to our guys. Just like this is where the read is, this is what they're looking for, this is what we're going to present to them so that you can play off of that in a better way on defense, if that makes sense, right? So, these second, third level read stuff that the offenses are doing, it's based and predicated off how the defense reacts. And if you can educate your guys on that, you can put the ball at least in an even court and it comes down to making the play and you don't play behind it all the time on defense. So, I think it works both ways, but to take nothing away from their quarterback, I think he's super accurate, he's super intelligent, he's tough, and you see the ball get put in the right places most of the time.
Feel good? All right. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.